Welcome.
Greetings.
Greetings. We're in. Guys, welcome to the Gym Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler. Over there is John.
Howdy.
Let's get right into it. John, what are we covering today?
I've been geeking out on frameworks. We're kind of been in the process where we've been doing a lot of building and streamlining on the back end of things for us. And a big piece of that has been, what are the things that we've been doing with clients successfully on a one-on-one basis? And then how can we continue to provide kind of those frameworks and things to make it more easily accessible or consumable kind of by everybody in the community as a whole? We've riffed on this before, but the idea is it doesn't matter how good or how much knowledge you have or how smart you are, that you can explain it as long as I have 15 hours to explain it to you, right? It's, can we do this can you do it in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Can you do it? How quickly can you do it? Can you do it in 30 seconds? Like it's, and not to that you're trying to make less of the importance of what you're talking about, but can we simplify it enough that I can explain to you how I want you to go and build an offer, or be able to understand kind of who is in your market or who's in your niche, and all those different marketing sleazy phrases that we kind of roll our eyes at. But the idea is like, can you do something that's complex and difficult that most people don't ever do? And can you understand how you would do that in 30 seconds or less? And that has been kind of the challenge that I put on kind of myself as the self-imposed, framework person, out of our group.
Yeah. Well, as we come through, we have a lot of frameworks for how we help you build how you can learn to build your offer, how you can deliver it, how you kind of make sure you identify how you are within what you are within your gym, what you can do, and how best to present that going forward. The problem is, or the bottleneck is, that takes practice. It takes thinking outside the box, kind of like in the end, whatever your final offer is going to be, it's always going to be something that's changing. You're going to be adding things and adding new services, and you're going to be thinking very differently. And the problem is right now you're only stuck with your gym and your business. So when we do these exercises, one of the important things that we go through is like, okay, so now you've learned how to do this with your gym, with things you're very familiar with. And now we need you to take these principles and this process and this framework and now get out there and start just looking around at other businesses, maybe that are the way you want to be, or like, how do I communicate this better, John? Like, that are exactly kind of aligned in certain ways with your service offerings or what you hope that they could be. So then you actually get practice, because then you're not stuck with only these set of tools that you have, and you really don't know what you don't know until you start getting out there playing with somebody else's tools.
Well, definitely what we have found over the years is that it's probably not good business practice to just test a bunch of shit with your live community.
No, not always.
It can't be like, because you're going to hear stories, like, for sure, you're going to hear stories about like, well, our ethos was this, or this is who we were, and this is what we did as a gym. And then I went to a seminar and it completely changed my life, or completely changed how I think about training, like fundamentally. And then I decided the next Monday to get rid of all of the barbells that exist inside the gym. It's like, wait a second, what did you just say out loud? It's like, well, yeah. And it's like, how did that go? Well, it was horrific. Yeah, no shit. Like, it's like, pump the brakes. Like, let's wait for a second and let's think about. So there has to be a way for you to have a playground that you can play in and practice the same way that, like, you would be ill-advised to build out a program or build out a workout if you're a coach and train your people without knowing exactly what it's going to do to them. Yeah. Like, you're probably going to be better off knowing at this portion they're going to vomit. And that's okay, because I vomited when I did this too. Like, at least it's a safer place if you know what's happening, opposed to being like, oh my God, like I didn't know that this was about to happen. Like, I didn't realize that this is where it was at. And so definitely what you talked about is this idea of now and before you ever want to roll something out, you also want to have a lot of reps under your belt before you kind of go live with people, especially like we said,
Yeah.
And so this is where this has been the framework we've been talking about, because we've talked about previously the idea of like the plate method of like, this is how we would recommend building out your offer, what you have that exists. But how do you get that better? It's not like if you're only in your gym, more than likely you're not going around and hanging out at a bunch of other gyms. Unless you're in the community here,
yeah,
you're probably not interacting with a whole bunch of coaches and a whole bunch of people that would be willing to kind of give up a bunch of information. I mean, that was the reason why we've been building the community, and we want to have where people can kind of freely share this information. But most of the time you're just working.
yeah.
And rarely do you have time to step back and be like, so it's like all this working? Like, is it really good right now?
Well, you end up finding yourself in an echo chamber, absolutely, where it's these are my philosophies. This is my gym. This is the way I kind of want it to be run. Like you get a good sense for how you want your things to be right now, but it's really difficult to know what is possible until you start taking a look at what else is out there. So you need the reps. Where does somebody start with this? Can we kind of run through an example for how you want to get practice?
Yeah. So the framework that to try and break it down, right? I just wanted to make it as easy as like A to D. So A, B, C, D. And we just call it, right, it's the alpha to delta. Alpha delta method is the idea. This is the framework that we've broken down. And we got to start first where you have to be able to answer the basic questions of who are you? What type of gym are you? What are the type of people you want to attract? Like, you have to know yourself well enough. And more importantly, you have to have done the work to know, is that actually who you want to be and who you want to be attracting? And this is the work that I call is like the unsexy work and the behind the scenes work. But only the gyms that we have talked to and that we have worked with that just crush every step of the way, this is the stuff that they are really good at, or they have done this before, so that they are super crystal clear about who they are and what they want their tribe or community to be.
Yeah.
Once you can answer those questions, that now helps you go to the next step, which is going to be going to B. So this is the brainstorming. And so this is where you need to start looking at who in your area matches who you are. Are they working with the types of people that you want to work with or you do work with? And you just are now building and brainstorming just a list of individuals, gyms, and don't just step back because you happen to be a CrossFit gym or you happen to be a gym maybe that's open 24 hours. Whatever your niche is within the fitness space, don't handicap yourself by only looking at people that truly only look like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because there's pieces to be extracted from almost any line of whether it's fitness or really community building or just movements in general. You get into anything involving coaching, training, instruction. Like there's a lot that can be learned from any business in there that's doing it well, especially if you think that they kind of align values wise with you, which means now like you can look right away and go, oh, I don't want to imitate anything that this guy's doing. Yeah, I can't. It all looks really, really rough. But I think it is important because you need to have ideas, and they're not all going to rise up from within your gym.
Yeah, and nor are they coming from, right? If you are an affiliate of a particular brand, right? If you follow a particular brand or you follow a particular brand of coaching, like oftentimes I think people can get really narrow-minded on the programming that they provide in the gym. And it's like, oh, well, this is the style of it's like, that's fine. But you need to make sure that you are looking elsewhere because you can enhance that version. You don't have to change what you are.
Yeah.
But there's so many pieces that can enhance what you're doing that, again, if you're not looking and you're not thinking about it, you're never going to. And what quickly happens is that you've been doing things for 10 years. And what it really means is that you haven't updated in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you get in the habit of doing things just because you've always done them that way. That's the death of all ideas. It's the death of everything. It's the death of progress. It's kind of the death of your business. If you're doing things because you've always done them that way, you've got to be willing to undo them. Absolutely. Now, once we get out into where you start analyzing some of these other people's offerings, how they do them, how they message them, you get to start tinkering with and building offers on your own, correct? Like you kind of go through how would you present them based upon the frameworks that you've learned before on the plate method and having gone through the T3 stuff, how would you start to retool these people's? And this is the thought exercise, right? That's where the
Mhm.
real value is. This is where you get your practice. This is a thing that, as John and I were not coming, I mean, we didn't invent any of this stuff, but as we are applying this to gym members and we're going through some of this stuff with, or to gym owners and going through this stuff with clients, I start doing the same thing, practicing it everywhere in every business I see. The problem was I was doing it on accident. Whereas this
Yeah.
is on purpose. So it has a box that you go in deliberately, you get in and you do this thing. What I end up doing is seeing that everywhere in everything, and it can kind of make you an insufferable know-it-all. So try to avoid that part where you're like, you start walking down the street and you're like, why does this guy selling this thing? Geez, if he just did this, this, and this, it would be. And there's going to be a lot of that when you start seeing that way. Plus, when you start seeing the results in your own system, as you start to build and actually execute on some of these things within your own gym, you see what works and how well it works, and how some of these few simple changes can make you way more money, or how they can at least really, really give your clients something to latch onto offering wise, where they're really enthusiastic and can invest way more in themselves. But once you start seeing that success, you're like, oh, now I know. And then you become the guy that everywhere you go knows better than every business that's out there. And that's rough. So this is why I encourage you guys to keep this in this box when you do this exercise. When you go through it
Yeah.
in the course or you do the thing, do this and then worry about your own business, because it will make you crazy eventually in the long run. I walk down the streets now and I just start analyzing systems and how I don't like them. And now at this point, I'm like, why are the sidewalks like this? This is dumb. Like
These bring no
everything,
value.
you
There's no
become an
value to this.
insufferable know-it-all. So like,
Right.
tone it down. Don't go as far as I do on all that stuff.
But it is that mindset. You have this thing that shifts. It is a click that happens. And I for sure have experienced it. The one thing, it was where you could definitely always go, Tyler's route is always the route that Tyler will always provide, which is the insufferable piece in which you just kind of make everything really awful. And you could do that piece.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good example of being like, don't go down that road. The one road. And so the
Practice
one road
with
that
your
I
stuff. Don't make this about everybody else's stuff and what they're doing wrong. Learn where they're at in some of the hiccups, and then learn that lesson. And that's the important thing with this, truthfully. Like, all jokes aside, is that you're able to learn from some of the mistakes, missteps, or poorly aligned offers and services that a lot of these other gyms have. So you don't have to spend 10 years getting to the point that they have, where there's still a bunch of problems, right? You can see this, identify the gaps, know what's going on, and not have to spend 10 years making less money or offering a poor service or leaving a bunch of money on the table. So this is a way to learn from other people's mistakes.
And I think it's definitely right. So you don't have to make those, but it also is a big piece where don't undervalue the value of looking at other people's things, even if you are like, I know we're better than them.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the exercise. The exercise is looking, because you need to develop, right, the owner eye or the offer eye. So we hear a lot about people talking about like a coach's eye.
Yeah.
Right. The coach's eye to look at movement and be able to kind of see, okay, where are they having some deficiencies? Where can we help them?
And how do you tune up your coach's eye? By coaching people, right? You have to.
Whole
And it ain't
bunch,
gonna be perfect
all the
every time, but you got to start doing it, and you got to start playing that game.
And as soon as you start working at that, what do you start doing? Somebody's walking down the street, and now you're kind of looking at, you're like, oh, well, that guy's lat is shut off on his left-hand side, and that's why he has lower back pain on the right-hand side. Like, you can't help it, because that's what you're working at.
Yeah.
As a gym owner, you need to be working on your owner eye. And this is the piece where, again, if you're not, no one else is. I can guarantee you that no one else is worrying about how much money you're bringing in, what your offers look like, and how that's getting positioned. No one. Do you know why? They don't get paid to do it. No one is going to do anything unless you pay them. And if you're the owner, this needs to be a piece that you cannot be, oh, well, I have a salesperson. Okay. You need to understand exactly what your goal is, or what what those offers look like, and understand what those numbers are looking like. As, are they working? It's not something this is not an exercise. Like we said, it's repetition heavy, and it has to be. So it needs to be something that you're not just doing once and then you put it on the shelf and never worry about it again. It's something you come back to, and you're at minimum, in my opinion, is once a quarter, take a look. What are you doing? What's working? What isn't? But then look at the things that are around you. And as you get better at this, because this is something that you and I have started doing a lot more of lately, which is you stop staying even focused at just looking at like gyms or just looking at the fitness industry alone, because you've got to realize a great way of differentiating kind of yourself and your business from a gym owner's perspective is, why do I keep going back to this restaurant? What is it? What's the principles? What are the things that they're doing really well that I like? I have a lot of value. Like I keep coming back and I enjoy being here. Is there something there for you that you can take one of those value skills or concepts and plug that into your gym?
Yeah. And
what do they do well?
And not just in like, and it's really, this exercise is less about branding and messaging though.
Exactly.
And really truly about crafting an offer and maybe learning ways you can offer services that you haven't thought of. Think outside the box for services you can offer, or joint ventures products you can, like there's just so many things, but you do need to keep it narrowed around the offers, because otherwise you'll nitpick the million other flaws that every business has. And you got to stay clear of that, because it's not about that. So stick to really the offer crafting and service building side of this stuff, and it's going to make this a much more efficient use of your time. But the idea of getting into businesses outside of fitness centers, this is where this principle came from, by the way. Like most gyms and fitness centers, they're late to business principles. Business principles arrive late to the fitness industry. I don't know why that is. Oftentimes maybe it's low barrier to entry. Truthfully, I believe it's because, as you see in our coach interviews, most owners get into it as coaches because it's a passion project. And because of it, they put money last, literally last, by the way, not like second, third, or fourth, like literally money is put last. Therefore, these things are completely overlooked. But I had found the value in these principles reluctantly from a completely another industry. So we're trying to implement this stuff on service delivery and on sales for, contractor and heating and air conditioning companies, and reluctantly doing it because it didn't make sense to me at the time. Normally, that's an entire industry where you go in and I do my thing and I leave and then you pay and nobody talks. There's no arrangement. You get what you get and you pay what you pay, and there's no additional offerings. Having seen this work so well as we implemented that in that other field, then I start looking to the gyms and the fitness industry. And then I started saying, oh, now I know that this works outside of this. And then we start applying it in here. And that is really important. Once you get outside this, you start looking into these other places and you can really see the value that this would have in almost any business and almost any line of work, fitness, service, in everything, for honestly physical products. Like this is why your cable company now has bundles, always has. Everything is in packaged tiered offerings, and you need to hone that skill, because you don't want to have an idea of, oh, I want to offer this for my clients. You really want to know that it's going to work before you just craft the thing, right? So you can kind of get these reps, get this experiment, or get this experience in before you turn it over into your gym into something that they may like or hate.
Yeah, a model I've shared before, and that I think it's worth mentioning here as well for the group as a whole, is the benefit of looking outside of what you would typically think. So if you're, let's say, a CrossFit style gym, and you look out, take a look at Peloton, right? There's some interesting models, some interesting offers, things that Peloton does. Now, again, we're not worried about anything other than just the offer value, right, that they provide. Well, we have a lot of folks that we know that maybe have like equipment that's tied into their gym,
or some sort of physical product,
something physical that they sell to their people. And this was definitely very helpful, that you're not just selling, right? I'm not saying you need to now go get a physical product for your gym to sell people to use. That's like a fitness. Yeah,
that seems like that's a lot of work if that work's not already done. Yeah.
And this is what's important, is that once you identify who you are and the pieces that you have in your gym, now you can start more creatively thinking about how can you put those items that you already have to work. Again, the sell here is never to go do a thing to go make money. It's look at what you got, And then how can you creatively now start using that to make money? And so this is like, we have some friends that definitely that work out of Australia that
Mhm.
sell tons of equipment, right? Sell
Yeah.
all sorts of sandbags and equipment. With those sales, either you can just sell a sandbag and that's it. It's a single transaction that you sell and you sell that sandbag. You also happen to be a gym owner and you have these two companies that really kind of live side by side. It's great because now you have all this great equipment for your gym and you sell this. Well, look at Peloton's model. Peloton ties their entire fitness based model around the equipment itself,
Yeah.
the sell of the equipment.
Which instantly, by the way, makes everything the equipment on its own is of almost no value for Peloton too. Like they want the monthly recurring thing. They want you on the hook forever. They allow you to finance the equipment. I think for gyms, if you have equipment, let's use the sandbag example because it's easy and there's a few out there that do it. Someone wants to come into your gym and let's say you only offer group classes. Well, now there's an at-home option, right? They can have a thing. They can't get in 3 days a week, or COVID stuff comes and goes. You can still pay for the membership, get online coaching, or however you package remote stuff if you're dealing with, restrictions and limitations on having your doors open. But you can do that. You can start to offer like, okay, well, we do have kind of an at-home thing. That's just another type of package you can start to build into your offer. The other things that you can do is, let's say you have an introductory thing where maybe you're going with an assessment and then you have a intake that involves one-on-one and then into semi-privates. And maybe this is a transition where they don't want to some people don't want commitment times, 4 days a week, 5 days a week to the gym. There's gym rats out there, but those people aren't normally looking for new gym memberships. So when you talk to somebody coming off the street, there's a real value to get them out and about and coached a thing a couple times a week, and maybe that's the best that their budget can afford. They can't afford a really expensive one-on-one personal training, but maybe they need you to touch base with them, and then they can do some things at home on their way, and this becomes a still high value thing for you. You're delivering a high value product, but it's just another way for you to serve people. And I'm stacking these almost on the low end, but you can also put this on the very high end as well, where you start offering these big premium packages and you're going to learn this, and you got equipment for home. And if you want to go on a trip and this and that, and there's a lot of ways that this can be built in with everything else that you do, from supplements to nutrition coaching to all this stuff that you do, that you know how to do, that you haven't put together. You can do this within your own thing, and you should be looking, just like if you don't sell equipment, what would you do if you did? Because then when the time comes and maybe an opportunity knocks on your door, you know exactly how you'd construct it, and you will have proof on how similar systems work within your gym already. So, I add this, it's going to shift here and here. And it's not this if you build it, they will come trick that we've talked about before. That's just there to trick people into being poor forever. You can make things based on things that work, and you don't have to cover all this overhead in order to package something together that somebody likes. Just put the package together, sell it, and make it work.
And you touched on this briefly, and again, just to make sure we drive the idea home, that it's just do what you do well.
Yeah.
Because there will be opportunities. There are there are affiliate agreements for sandbag companies. My God, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Like if you want to partner with anyone like this has equipment, there's partnerships. Well, guess what? Now what you do is make sure that equipment's taken care of. And now you take care of your part of the agreement, which is what you do well.
Someone else fulfills the thing you don't.
And now you provide a higher, exactly.
And it's easier to scale because you're not the bottleneck, So there's opportunities in every segment of this stuff. Once you start looking outside of what you already do, that's the thing, is you got to build it from what you have, but you're not going to be very versatile in your thought process until you do start thinking about systems that aren't yours, and that's the important part of this exercise, is to analyze things outside of your gym, so that when you come back and build things within your gym, your brain is really you've got a lot of exercise in this practice.
Yeah, because then when you get to those conversations where you get to talk about partnerships or joint ventures or whatever, a curveball gets thrown and everyone has to close their doors. You've already participated in some of the mental exercise where it's like, well, we do this well, so now we just need to bring this piece in. And again, there's so much more, and this is just the very beginning. And it's practicing what, for a better word, right? We'll just keep calling it practicing that owner's eye, right? That offer eye of how can you stack it? What would you do if you were them? because the next piece of this is then implementing the pieces that you like the most. That's the lowest hanging fruit, and then implementing that into your gym as it exists now. But that's the most delicate piece, because you need to make sure that it's consistent with what you're doing right now and that it actually is worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's it. That's been the framework we've been working on. So I'm excited. It's that called that alpha delta, and then we add right plus that plate method that we combine all together that really brings some pretty cool things together for some gyms.
Well, it is, you know, a lot of what we do with you know, with the gym hacking coursework is about this, where it's not just, yes, we want you to go in and build and work on your gym, but your eye needs to be we want you to have the skills. And that's why this isn't just a workbook. It's not just coaching and guidance. This is really the right combination of the two things, that you can't just come in and have the perfect plan for your business unless you've really done a lot of the mental work that's need to be done.
Because plans don't fucking work.
No, a plan. I never had a plan that just tinged up. And that's the whole point. You need to plan on it not going according to plan. Always.
And everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the fucking mouth. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And there is so much realness to that. Everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, I've heard that before. But it's like, no, you need to understand that anything that you think is a good idea, you have to be able to take action on quickly. And this is a premise that I have learned a lot, like the hard way. And then I've watched very large businesses do this as well that I've been a part of. And this is the idea of fail quickly, fail as fast as you can. Don't spend 6 months building a goddamn thing. And you touched on it earlier, right? If you build it, they will come. Has built specifically to keep people poor. Yeah,
it's an absolute, it is an absolute psyop in my opinion. Part of me thinks that it's intentionally put out there to keep poor people poor. I really almost think that, because it's such shit advice. However that floated to the top out of that movie, I have no idea. But it is absolute dog shit advice. I used to think that all the time. You make a thing and you think it's a good idea and you put it out. It's not how this works. It's just not how this works. So do what you do. Find people that want that. Figure out what you can offer them. And then you're playing the game. Don't just make a thing and yell it on a mountaintop and hope people start coming. It's just not how this works. And that's why you got to do that work of identifying, by the way, in the beginning, who you are, who your people are. Without that, these steps are useless, absolutely useless, because you're just going to be yelling into a void about who you are and what you do that nobody's going to give a shit. And there's going to be offers that don't matter. So you really need to make sure you're aligned with who you are, who your people are, so you know who you're talking to. And you know what they want and the things that they like and the way they like things presented. Take that and the experience you're going to get from this exercise at a bunch of other gyms, other businesses. And I think you're going to be able to put together some really, really, really sharp offers that your people are going to be stoked to getting those services that way from you. That's the game. This isn't some best offer that exists in a vacuum. None of this exists in a vacuum. And that's why I would love to be able to come in. This would be so easy for us, John. It'd be a lot cheaper for everybody if there was just a list. Here's your perfect offer. If it just was universal, that would be great. I believe these principles are universal. How you get to your perfect offer is, and that's what we're kind of doing here, is walking you through a principle-driven path to get there. But this is something I can't do because I don't know who you are, what you want to be, or who your people are, or really what you do now, and what that relates into what you think you're capable of in 6 months. And maybe you have offerings and ideas in your back pocket. And as you start thinking flexibly and outside of your own gym, you'll figure out where and when these things can be applied.
Because we've built great fucking offers before, Tyler, and it's not had the work that's been done that's needed, that can only come from the brain or the heart or the mentality of the owner that works there. If that's not in sync, it doesn't matter how good the offer is. It's gonna suck. And that's why we talked to the folks at Stark Hardenberg, right, not too long ago. And the reality is that they put together an offer that was specific to who they were. And they talked about, which was great to hear someone say it other than us, the idea of like, it's when someone walks through the door that doesn't fit that, you say no to them, because it doesn't matter how good your offer is. If they're not in line with what you're trying to do, it won't work.
And your offer should also, in your offer, it should define who you are and what they are also. Your offer should feel like that, meaning they should know based on your offer whether this is going to be for them or whether it's not. You know what I mean? If a guy walks in and wants to, what do you mean? I just, we offer, most of the gyms we're dealing with offer coaching, and there's lots of programs, coaching, group classes, services, specific one-on-one stuff, life coaching, nutrition. There's a whole lot of things that go into this that people can offer. But if you get a guy that walks into your gym and you're that type of gym, and the guy wants to says, well, no, I just want to be able to come in and lift and then leave. Like, what can I do? Like, once that person sees your offer and that you have like a $2,500 startup hype up package where it's like supplements in here and a one-on-one kind of an on-ramp thing to get familiar with the space, and then some nutrition coaching for 6 weeks, and then they hand you over to a semi-private thing, and then it rolls into like this guy looks at that, and that's the top offer, and goes, fuck, I don't want any of this. And then he looks down at the end, and nothing at the bottom is, I just do whatever the fuck I want all the fucking time, and I'm not involved in anybody, and nobody gives me any value. That's not on this offer sheet. That's not on the here's your options. That's not what he sees. He looks at this and goes, oh, well, I guess this isn't for me. If you don't have that, you're going to spend time trying to convince that guy to come into your group fitness classes. And that is going to be a cancer. He's not going to be happy. He's going to leave and be like, this was dumb. Oh, these people like, and all he had to do is he could walk away. If you had the right offer, he's going to walk away going, that place just isn't for me. And hopefully he says, that's too expensive too, by the way. Because if that gets out, that's not bad for you either.
Yeah.
Set expectations. And your offer sets those expectations for new clients who, as they're viewing or as they're considering your offer, that sets expectations for who you are and what you do and what they can accomplish. But what that also does is when they leave, whether they accept an offer or whether they decide it's not for them, when they leave, your offer will be talked about to anyone else when they enter a place. And that's good. If somebody says, they offered all this stuff, and there's like all sorts of stuff at the top, and he's like, I just want a fucking bench and go home, but when he does that, everyone who hears that is going to know what you really offer, because your offer is about you, and he's going to read that no matter what he says. Anyone who's going to hear it and goes, that place does some real shit.
Yeah, and like, that guy's a douchebag. So I think I'm going to go.
Yeah, or whatever. And, guys want to train like that. I train at a gym right now. It's just dudes doing dude stuff in the school, right? It's a culture thing, but it's a different thing. It's not coaching. That's not what we do. And so I think that having the right offer and have it built around you and your personality, it will be your best advertising in the long run. Your word of mouth is like, oh, they do a great job. Like that's results driven word of mouth, right? That's people that are already in. But every time you present that offer to somebody, anytime that anyone asks, oh, how'd that go? You went over there to meet with them, or what was that like? That sings huge volume, that says volumes about who you are and what you do to everybody else that hears it. It's a home run to have somebody leave and say, man, these guys, they do all this stuff. It was so cool, the types of stuff they could do, or like, it just wasn't for me. I could never afford that.
Right. And understand, it doesn't always have to be where, again, attracting. So you used a great example. I go to a gym. It's not about coaching. It's a bunch of dudes doing dude shit. I would love to build. Do you know how much fun it would be to build offers for that gym?
Oh,
it's like,
trust me.
The high level here
of course.
Like, there's so
because you just
many
go with
things
what that is to a T. I mean,
to the most extreme.
And with all the ends of that, there's a whole apparel. There, don't get me wrong. There's a ton of things that could be done.
That's it.
But you're absolutely right. That guy needs to find that place, right, and not yours. And if you don't want to compete with that place. And this is how you never do it, and you never have to. And guys who aren't your people are going to leave and tell everybody. And the people who hear that, who are your people, are going to be attracted. It's not just a deterrent; it's an attractant as well in the long run. So don't be afraid of somebody going, "Oh, this isn't for me," because everybody they tell it's not for you, you're going to be saying it to someone who it is, and that's the goal. We don't want everybody. You can't have 500 members. Maybe you can. But I don't want to, that seems like a scale that I don't want to deal with. I'd rather have multiple locations than have one gym with 500 members.
Sure.
Though I do have a friend we can talk to who has a gym with about 500 members.
With about 500 members?
Yeah, about 500.
I would be I know who you're talking about too. It would be fun just to be able to take a look at what they have. Yeah. Because again, it's like, there's so many pieces. And again, when I say the word fun, right? When I say the word fun, because I'm a dork.
Yeah.
Because this is what I like. Yeah. Like this is reason why this is what we do. And this is what we're like, we want to share this, because being able to help folks just see it themselves. Look, catch this, see what we're talking about. Now go do it. It's the doing that's the most interesting. Like the D part of this, what we're talking about is the designing of your actual offer is the fun part of this, because that means that you are one conversation away from making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And more importantly, money is great. It's most important. But man, a really close second is completely shattering those limiting beliefs in the back of your head of, I'm not worth it. This won't work.
Yeah.
They don't like me. There's so many of those things we all deal with, that the second someone says, yeah, or yeah, just charge my card.
I have had that moment. And this is why I believe in this wholeheartedly, and why I want to encourage you guys as you go down this road. Give us your feedback as this stuff starts popping off for you. Like, because I had these moments where I had doubts when I was learning these principles in the other field, like big time. Dude, I hated going, okay, and our top option is going to, like, normally in that line of work, that's not what I do as a repairman. You know what I mean? Testing these principles in other fields is hard. And the expectations are very different. And I have seen almost instantly the results in a way that were like, I couldn't, like, I was like, all right, well, whatever I thought about this, I was fucking stupid, because this is nuts. And these customers were so happy. I'm going to give you one example, because this is and it's outside the box. So this will fit with kind of what we're doing here. This is not a gym offer, right?
Right.
So we have a guy, it's a geothermal. It's his heat at his house isn't working, right? The fan's not working. He has a very expensive amount. It's like the minimum cost to replace this motor thing he has that's wrong. It's going to cost him about $900. That sucks for a guy. It's also a place it's also a rental. So he doesn't even live there. He's like, fuck me, $900, right? So what I go through and I present the tiered offerings that we had for this type of repair. And the top option is not just me replacing this thing and walking away with whatever warranty the manufacturer has on that replacement part. The top option is me going through and replacing 2 or 3 small, 4 probably small other things that can be replaced that wear out, make contacts, noise, things like this, clean everything up, rip the whole thing off and like pressure wash it out. Like, it really is like you clean the coil. This is a full strip down and cleanup job, which, by the way, I could have gotten in and out with that other replacement thing in 45 minutes. But the way this thing is packaged, he buys essentially almost the rest of my afternoon. It's kind of how this works. That's the way I build those packages. He buys the rest of my day. Meaning at that moment, they choose that top option. It's a premium offer. I come in then after that and we like roll floor runners down. This guy's getting the treatment. It's practically red carpet the rest of the way here. And this thing is all the stuff you wouldn't normally do. You just do just because, like, you literally shine it when you're done. Like, there's no dust. It is shined. It looks good. Like, that's the thing. And this whole thing. And I have to present this to someone knowing that he can get out of this for $900. And I'm not telling him to do it or not. I'm just saying, this is your top option and these are your others. And what do you want to do today? And he goes, let's go with that top. Also, the top option comes with a 2.5-year warranty on anything that I work on in this. So any of these new parts, so 2.5 years, he knows he doesn't have these words, his values, his pocketbook, whatever. I don't know what's going on in his bank account. He chooses that option. Almost $4,000. You know how much extra money and parts it cost me? 100, in addition to the 150 tops.
Right.
But I don't sell parts. I sell a service. And this service is a premium service. And he felt good, and he knows he's in good hands, and he knows he has an ace technician who's there fucking the rest of the goddamn day to make sure this thing is in good a standing as possible. Was that work necessary? No. But neither is heated seats in your fucking car. And yet people buy them, people love them, people pay a premium for them. So having seen that work that way, that was the first one where I was like, holy shit.
He said yes.
Well, because I kind of get commission too. So I was like, and again, none of this was being pushy, because I didn't, at this point, I barely believed in it. I was just like, I'm going to execute this process. And the process works so well. And then I do it again and again. And it wasn't even really about selling top options. And yet the top ones still kind of sell. And so many people settle in the middle. And what you're doing is just giving people an opportunity to choose their path forward with this thing. And how do you do that in a gym is the same way you can do it in these other things. But when I see this success pop up and surprise people, then they know all of a sudden their thoughts on the potential in the future is very different, because you can rethink it. You go, holy shit, I could make a lot of money by the end of the year. Like I didn't even know. And all you do is this. And so I really, really, really encourage you to do exactly that. I learned this outside of the field of fitness, and I want you to work your way to that. Start with your gym, start with your identity, start with other places in your area and other places that offer that same type of stuff. And then eventually work your way out to thinking outside the box and what some of these offers can really look like.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, some of your best home run ideas will probably come outside of the fitness industry, because these games have been played for a long time out there in the real world.
And tell us.
Tell us.
Please tell us.
When you have
'Cause
your
it is
first
one
big,
of-
dude, we had some big closes. Clients had closed some big fucking sales last week, big ones. And I was like,
That's true.
dude, I was jumping. I thought,
Yeah.
yes, it's my favorite thing. I love it. So,
Right.
so when these things start popping off for you, please tell us, share it in the group, tell us, people, whatever you want to do. I mean, these are things you can't normally flex like this on your business's page
Right.
publicly, because you don't want to be like, look at how much fucking, it's not probably the best messaging there, but you can tell us. You can share within the group. It's all gym owners. Nobody's gonna tell everybody that you're gouging people or whatever you're worried about.
And they're not
people
going to think
perceiving.
you're and you're not worried about the optics of looking like a douche. At the end of the day, it's like gym owners, when you get gym owners together talking, everyone knows where each other are coming from.
Yeah.
Certainly the ones that are in our community,
Mhm.
because it's everyone just appears to be on the same path going up the same mountain.
Yeah.
And one dude just happens to be a little bit further. And man, there's some folks that are a little bit further behind us, and God, listening to them talk, it's like, I remember those days. Like I
Mhm.
remember what that felt like. And
Yeah.
it's really important to share those wins and share your losses or your discouragement or whatever as well. But it's because you have a community that's there to kind of lift you up and support and then keep you moving forward. Because it is super, it's cheesy, it's whatever. It's the thing that I've always, ever since in college, this is where we learned this phrase, but it's like, it's either you're getting better or you're getting worse.
Yeah.
You're never going to stay the same.
Yeah.
So you have to be moving.
Yeah, and business is especially that way. I mean, on the personal development side of things, that's absolutely true, and I think it's universal all across the board. You ever see a business that does the same thing that they've always done? It's not normally a good look. And if it does still work, they've done that really fucking well, and it's really dialed in and really connected with who they are. You know, the In-N-Out burgers of the world are rare. They can do the same thing the same way forever and ever and ever. But the people that really, for those of us out there, if you're a small business, you need to be adapting and learning and evolving and moving constantly, because not evolving is death. It's active death for a business. You got to be pushing forward. So guys, that's got us wrapped up for today.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram at Tyler F. and Stone. Follow the Gym Owners Podcast at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. You can go to hackyourgym.com, get started, learn more information. Make sure you get in the Facebook group, the Gym Owners Movement Facebook group. There's all the links are in the description. You can get a hold of John over there at
JBanks FL.
JBanks FL. Anything else? I don't know what else we got to get out there. I think that's probably everything
That's
you
it.
need is in the description. Everything I just said is in the description. I just say it repeatedly over and over and over again so you hear it. So thanks a lot for listening, everybody. If you are listening, go to the Facebook group. If you're watching, thanks for being here. We'll see you.
Yep.